He's back, baby. I am back. Long time no hear from a lot of you. Well, unless you listen to my A's podcast, Town Tailgate. So, if not, you've been listening to me for the past 2 years. But took a 2-year hiatus on this one because, the Magic Hour and doing 2 podcasts is tough when you're working a lot. And I was working a ton then. I was on the road a lot, so it was just hard to keep up with all of it. And to be honest with you, a lot of my conversations about the A's ended up on the Town Tailgate. So this platform was kind of left for just like the Warriors and like maybe the Raiders from time to time. But I'll be honest with you, I'm trying to build a little bit of a brand in the sports media landscape, trying to diversify my resume. So I wanted to bring this back up. I'm doing some writing for Fan First Sports. Check out my pieces. I just put one up last week. It's ranking the second best player on the Warriors. I'll post it up on my Instagram and on my Twitter, so you'll be able to get the link there. But it's a pretty good piece. But I've been writing for them, which is the podcast network we've been a part of for Town Tailgate, and me and Julio are pretty excited about it. But it's about getting some more stuff out there and trying to maximize my craft the best I can. And speaking of Town Tailgate, it's an interesting situation. So I've heard a lot of people, all season, people have been asking me, but specifically recently, after the A's passed, Major League Baseball passed the relocation of the A's to Vegas, what are my thoughts and feelings on it? And, I've shared it a little bit on Town Tailgate, but I think I want to share it here. I love the A's. They are such a big part of my life, of who I am as a person, my personality, my family. I've said it multiple times. I am the son of season ticket holders, and my mom is a daughter of season ticket holders. There's 3 generations of A's fans that come through my family. And, normally I think with the Raiders, it's an example. Like when the Raiders moved to Vegas, took a long, hard thinking on it, was ready to jump ship, but just couldn't do it at the end of the day. And I think what made it easier for me to stay on the Raiders bandwagon when they moved was because it almost felt like they were forced out of Oakland. And Mark Davis had no other choice and nothing else to do. There's nowhere else in Oakland he could build a stadium except for the land that, the Coliseum is at. And the A's would not let him build there. So it was easier for me to accept the fact that there was no other options for him. With the A's, that's not the case. There's $80 million difference in a location, very nice location, perfect for the A's to build a stadium, and this cheap trust fund baby, spoiled kid doesn't want to deck out the $80 million it takes to do it. So I'm not going to get into the details. Me and Julio are going to cover this more in depth on this situation in upcoming episodes this offseason in Town Tailgate. But for me, it's like it doesn't even come down to like the A's brand and my memories growing up. It comes down to like I just can't give this person my money anymore. Whether that be going to games, whether it be buying merchandise, everything you ever see with an A's logo on it, he gets a cut of that. It's called trademarking. You license out your trademark to people to make apparel, license them out to New Era to make hats, license them out to 47 brand to make shirts, license them out to, Nike to put their logo on there. Like that's all that money goes back to John Fisher. And like that with tickets, I just can't give him my money anymore. I can't support this owner anymore. And because of that, when the A's eventually do make the move to Vegas, like I will be on the A's fan strong until they leave for Vegas. But the second they go, that's when I'm gone. And like, what does that mean for the Town Tailgate and that podcast? I don't know. Me and Julio are going to talk about that this offseason and try and figure that out. But, the feeling of the A's going to Vegas, it's just it's like a family member died. That's the best way I can explain it. And that family member's not coming back. And, it's hard to describe how I'm going to feel about that moving forward. Who knows? Maybe I'll still follow the team. I probably will still follow it. Will I be a diehard fan of them? And again, I don't think I can get myself to do it, because there is so many memories of me with that team and watching that in that ballpark that are going to be hard to get past. But yeah, so for those of you who are wondering how I'm feeling about that, that's the best way I can explain it. And it's unfortunate. But again, if you want to hear more in depth about that, you can check out the Town Tailgate. Me and Julio are going to go do an episode on that and how we feel about the move, and we're going to bring on a guest to talk about that, which is like kind of his last like fan allegiance left, and how he feels about that and what he's going to do moving forward. So it should be an interesting episode. But I'm back. I'm back on this feed. Wanted to get that out of the way, talk about the A's. Xavier Gomez is coming on the podcast. We're going to talk about the Warriors season so far. I wrote a piece for fanfirstsports.com. Go check it out. Two of them recently on the Warriors, but most specifically the ranking of the second best player on the Warriors, and he's going to tell me his thoughts and feelings on it and his reaction towards it. And just like the makeup of the team and what we think is going on, how we like about them, how we like about certain matchups, how we like about the young guys kind of stepping up in the second unit, and the Chris Paul edition, obviously. And then Julio Reynoso, my partner at the Town Tailgate, is going to come on. I definitely wasn't. I think that Julio tried to talk himself into it, but just couldn't quite do it. So we're going to talk about the Raiders quarterback situation, because that's kind of the only really looming issue with the Raiders right now. I mean, they have so much good personnel in their offense. I mean, obviously the offensive line could use some help, but it's not over the top terrible. On the offense, they have Josh Jacobs, they got Devontae Adams, they got Hunter Renfrow, they got Michael Mayer, Jacoby Myers. There's some good talent there. And it feels like the one missing piece is a competent quarterback, and we traded away that one of them this offseason. So it's now we're starting from scratch. So Aiden O'Connell has had some good flashes. I just don't see much of a future there. I think especially last game against Miami, seeing the mistakes he made and all the bad decisions and throws and terrible reads that he made, I don't think that he has a future as a starting quarterback in this league. I think that his future is as a backup, and he needs to accept that. He's not going to be Kirk Cousins. He's not going to come out of nowhere as his backup who's going to just show that he can be this elite quarterback. No, he's not that. So we're going to talk about that and talk about future options in the draft, because I have some thoughts. This is a very good quarterback draft. Todd McShay, who is a draft analyst who I value and trust his opinion very well, because he has a very good track record, has said multiple times that this coming draft, every quarterback that's going to go in this first round, so that's Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix, Michael Penix, all these guys, they say, are better than every quarterback in this past draft in terms of talent, in terms of upside. Obviously, C.J. Stroud's having an insane year, but we all knew that he had a really high floor, but his ceiling wasn't quite as high. So we're going to talk about that, talk about the quarterbacks, what we like, what are realistic in terms of the pick that we potentially could have, and what we think can bring this Raiders team back to at least a playoff berth, because, man, was 2021 so much fun. I just want to live that again as a Raider fan. So, A's at the top. You just heard that. Warriors with Xavier, Raiders with Julio. So let's get it kick started. First podcast back should be fun.